Something unprecedented is happening in America's truck market. Dealers across the country are slashing prices to levels nobody could have imagined just months ago. In Phoenix, Arizona, John Matthews was shocked when he walked into his local Ford dealership. They had F-150 Lightnings marked down $20,000 below sticker. The salesman was practically begging me to test drive one. Over in Dallas, Emily Rodriguez found a brand new GMC Sierra Denali with a $15,000 discount tag plastered across the windshield. It was surreal, she told us. These were trucks that used to have waiting lists and dealer markups. Now they can't give them away fast enough. From coast to coast, rows of unsold pickup trucks are creating a crisis for dealers. Incentives that were once unthinkable, 0% financing for 84 months, cashback offers exceeding $10,000, and even free maintenance packages have become desperate attempts to move inventory that's piling up by the day. But here's what dealerships don't want you to understand. These aren't generous offers. They're warning signs of a market in free fall, and the implications for truck buyers in 2025 could be catastrophic if you make the wrong choice. What's truly alarming isn't just the size of these discounts, it's the specific models being slashed. We're not talking about outdated trucks or unpopular brands. We're seeing unprecedented price cuts on America's best-selling vehicles, names that have dominated sales charts for decades. Industry insiders have shared internal documents with us showing that certain pickup models are being produced at rates completely disconnected from actual consumer demand. One manufacturer has 3 times more inventory than they can reasonably sell this quarter. Another has quietly begun shutting down production lines while publicly maintaining that everything is fine. Behind closed doors, dealer principals are panicking. A confidential meeting of major truck retailers last month revealed that some dealerships are now losing money on every new pickup they sell. They're just trying to clear space and generate enough cash flow to survive until the market stabilizes. But here's what makes this situation truly unprecedented. It's not happening because Americans suddenly stopped wanting trucks. It's because a fundamental shift in the market has created winners and losers almost overnight. And if you're considering a truck purchase in 2025, understanding this shift could save you from a financial disaster. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which trucks dealers can't sell, why they're slashing prices to unsustainable levels, and most importantly, whether these bargains are actually worth your money or financial traps disguised as deals. Why are truck dealers suddenly offering massive discounts on models that were selling at or above sticker price just months ago? The answer lies in a perfect storm of economic pressures, shifting consumer preferences, and strategic missteps by manufacturers that have created what industry analyst Marcus Coleman calls the most volatile truck market since the 2008 financial crisis. Let's start with the economic factors. Interest rates remain significantly higher than the ultra-low levels Americans grew accustomed to during the early 2020s. The average new vehicle loan now carries an interest rate between 7 and 9%, nearly double what buyers were paying just a few years ago. For trucks with price tags exceeding $50,000, this interest rate jump adds hundreds of dollars to monthly payments. A $60,000 pickup financed over 60 months at today's rates costs nearly $700 more per year than it would have under previous interest rates. At the same time, inflation has eroded household purchasing power. While wages have increased, they haven't kept pace with the rising cost of housing, groceries, and healthcare. This means the average American family has less discretionary income to allocate toward vehicle purchases, especially high-margin trucks and SUVs. Jessica Martinez, economics professor at Northwestern University, explains the impact. What we're seeing is a classic affordability crisis. Manufacturers kept pushing trucks up market with more luxury features and higher price tags when the economic conditions were favorable. Now that the financial equation has changed for consumers, there's simply not enough buyers who can afford these premium-priced vehicles. The data supports this analysis. According to industry tracking firm Autodata, the average transaction price for full-size pickups increased by nearly 40% between 2018 and 2024, far outpacing wage growth during the same period. This created a market where the average new truck cost more than 60% of the median American household's annual income, a level that financial advisors universally consider unsustainable. But economic pressures are only part of the story. Manufacturers have made strategic errors that have compounded the problem. Thomas Wilson, former production planning executive at a major Detroit automaker, shared a critical insight. The truck market operates on incredibly long planning cycles. Decisions about production capacity, feature sets, and pricing are made 3 to 5 years in advance. The plans being executed today were formulated during the peak of pandemic-era consumer spending, when Americans flush with stimulus cash and home equity were willing to pay almost anything for the vehicles they wanted. This planning disconnect led manufacturers to invest heavily in expanding truck production capacity and adding expensive technology and luxury features. They forecasted continued strong demand at ever higher price points, only to find themselves producing vehicles that fewer people can now afford. Adding to this challenge, inventory management practices shifted dramatically after the chip shortage of 2021 and 2022. During those years, manufacturers became accustomed to selling every vehicle they could produce, often with substantial dealer markups. This created a false sense that consumer demand was essentially unlimited. Robert Johnson, dealer principal at a multi-brand auto group in Texas, describes the aftermath. For almost 2 years, we had customers begging to buy trucks at $10,000 over sticker. Manufacturers saw this and ramped up production to cash in, but they failed to recognize that this was an artificial environment created by supply constraints, not a permanent change in consumer behavior. As supply chains normalized and production increased, dealers suddenly found themselves with lots full of high-priced inventory and dwindling customer traffic. The result has been a gradual but accelerating slide into discount territory. But even this doesn't fully explain why certain truck models are being discounted so aggressively while others maintain their value. To understand that dynamic, we need to examine what's happening with specific models and segments within the truck market. Let's examine the 5 pickup trucks facing the steepest discounts in America right now, starting with the model that's become the poster child for dealership desperation. The Ford F-150 Lightning Electric arrived with tremendous fanfare just a few years ago. Ford's all-electric version of America's best-selling vehicle promised to revolutionize the truck market with instant torque, a massive front trunk where the engine would normally be, and the ability to power homes during outages. Initial demand was extraordinary, with reservation lists stretching into the hundreds of thousands. Early production models sold well above sticker price as enthusiasts and early adopters clamored to be first with Ford's electric truck. Fast forward to 2025 and the Lightning's fortunes have reversed dramatically. Dealers across the country are offering discounts between $15,000 and $25,000, reductions that would have been unimaginable when the truck launched. Michael Richards, an EV market analyst, explains the reversal. The Lightning suffered from what we call the early adopter cliff. The initial wave of buyers, technology enthusiasts, and EV converts was substantial but finite. Once that group was satisfied, Ford faced the much harder task of convincing traditional truck buyers to go electric. That task has proven extremely challenging. While the Lightning delivers impressive acceleration and innovative features, concerns about charging infrastructure, range limitations, especially when towing, and long-term reliability have made mainstream truck buyers hesitant. James Wilson, a Lightning owner from Colorado, shared his experience. "I love the truck for daily driving, but when I tried to tow my boat to the lake last summer, the range dropped by more than half. A trip that used to be no problem in my gas F-150 became a logistical challenge of finding chargers along the route." Adding to Ford's challenges, the Lightning's price increased substantially after launch, with some trims rising by more than $15,000 between announcement and delivery. This pushed the truck into a luxury price bracket that limited its appeal to working-class buyers, traditionally the core of pickup truck demographics. Now dealers are desperate to move unsold inventory, offering unprecedented discounts that raise serious questions about the truck's future viability and resale value. Moving to the next troubled truck, the GMC Sierra Heavy Duty has long represented the pinnacle of pickup luxury and capability, especially in its high-end Denali trim. With massive towing capacity, premium interiors, and imposing presence, these trucks commanded prices approaching or exceeding $100,000. Yet today, these same trucks sit on dealer lots with discounts of $15,000 to $20,000, representing reductions of 15 to 20% off MSRP. The Sierra Heavy Duty's challenges stem from a different set of factors than the Lightning's. Rather than technology adoption issues, the Sierra is grappling with its own success at pushing upmarket. Emily Thompson, automotive pricing strategist, explains, GMC spent years convincing buyers that trucks could be luxury vehicles with luxury price tags. They succeeded too well. The Sierra Denali became so expensive that it priced itself out of reach for most traditional truck buyers while failing to convince enough luxury car buyers to switch to a pickup. This pricing strategy worked during periods of low interest rates and strong economic growth. But as financing costs increased and economic uncertainty grew, the market for $100,000 pickup trucks contracted dramatically. Adding to this pressure, fleet purchases of heavy-duty trucks have declined as businesses become more cautious about capital expenditures in an uncertain economic climate. Commercial buyers, who once represented a reliable customer base for these trucks, have extended their replacement cycles or downsized to less expensive models. For individual buyers willing to accept the steep depreciation risks, today's discounted Sierra heavy-duty models offer tremendous capability at prices not seen in years. But the question remains, if dealers are this desperate to sell them now, what will resale values look like in 3 to 5 years? The third truck facing significant discounts is the Chevrolet Colorado, a mid-size pickup that once offered the perfect balance of capability and practicality for buyers who didn't need a full-size truck. Today, Colorado models sit on dealer lots with discounts ranging from $6,000 to $9,000, representing 20 to 25% reductions from MSRP in some cases. The Colorado's challenges are particularly telling because they reflect broader shifts in the mid-size truck segment. Once seen as the sensible alternative to increasingly expensive full-size trucks, mid-size pickups have experienced their own price inflation. Many well-equipped Colorado models now carry price tags exceeding $40,000, territory that was once the domain of full-size trucks. Robert Martinez, product planning consultant, points to competitive pressures as a key factor. The mid-size truck segment has become incredibly crowded. Between the Toyota Tacoma, Ford Ranger, Nissan Frontier, Honda Ridgeline, and now the Hyundai Santa Cruz and Ford Maverick blurring the lines from below, the Colorado struggles to stand out. This competitive pressure has forced Chevrolet dealers to offer substantial discounts just to remain in consideration against rivals that may offer better technology, stronger resale value, or more modern designs. For buyers, these discounts make the Colorado potentially attractive, but they also raise concerns about whether the model has a strong future in an increasingly crowded segment. Fourth on our list is the Ram 1500, a full-size truck that once challenged Ford and Chevrolet's dominance with its smooth-riding coil spring suspension and luxurious interior options. Current discounts on the Ram 1500 range from $8,000 to $12,000 across most trims, with some dealerships offering even steeper reductions on specific inventory they're desperate to clear. The Ram's situation reflects a broader vulnerability in Stellantis's truck strategy. While the Ram 1500 earned praise for its refinement and technology, the brand lacks the deeply loyal customer base that Ford and Chevrolet have built over generations. Industry analyst Thomas Brooks explains, Ram achieved success by offering a premium driving experience at a competitive price point. But as economic conditions tightened, many buyers reverted to brands they trust for longevity and resale value. Without the generational loyalty that Ford enjoys, Ram became vulnerable. This vulnerability has been compounded by uncertainty surrounding Stellantis's future product plans. While Ford and GM have clearly articulated their electrification strategies, Ram's path forward has seemed less certain, creating hesitation among buyers concerned about long-term support and resale value. For those willing to look past these concerns, today's Ram 1500 discounts offer exceptional value, allowing buyers to purchase trucks with premium features at mainstream prices. But the long-term outlook for these vehicles' value retention remains concerning. Finally, we reach perhaps the most surprising entry on our list, the Ford Maverick. When it launched, this compact truck generated enormous excitement with its standard hybrid powertrain, car-like handling, and perhaps most importantly, its sub-$25,000 starting price. Initial demand was so strong that Ford temporarily closed order books, unable to keep up with requests. Wait times stretched to months, and some dealers applied markups to these affordable trucks. Today, however, many dealers offer Mavericks with discounts of $3,000 to $5,000, representing 10 to 15% reductions from MSRP. While these discounts are smaller in absolute terms than those on more expensive trucks, they're remarkable for a vehicle that was initially sold out. The Maverick's cooling demand illustrates a fundamental challenge in today's auto market: the disappearing middle-class buyer. Consumer behavior analyst Lisa Rodriguez explains, "The Maverick was designed for a practical, value-conscious buyer who wanted truck utility without truck expenses. But economic polarization has squeezed this buyer from the market. Many who would have been ideal Maverick customers can no longer afford any new vehicle, while those with strong financial positions often prefer to spend more for larger vehicles with more features." This dynamic, where the middle of the market collapses while both the budget and premium segments maintain strength, helps explain why manufacturers have struggled to accurately forecast demand across their truck lineups. For consumers, these 5 trucks represent both opportunity and risk. The discounts are real and substantial, offering the chance to purchase vehicles for thousands less than identical models cost just months ago. But these same discounts signal potential issues with long-term value retention and manufacturer commitment. And this is where the story takes its most troubling turn, because the worst consequences may be yet to come for both buyers and manufacturers. The massive discounts we're seeing today aren't just a temporary sales strategy, they're the beginning of a fundamental restructuring of the American truck market that will have profound consequences for owners, manufacturers, and dealers. What dealers won't tell you as they slash prices is that these discounts are creating a dangerous domino effect that threatens to collapse resale values across entire model lines. Automotive economist James Richardson explains the mechanism. When manufacturers authorize huge discounts on new vehicles, they're essentially devaluing every similar model already on the road. If you can buy a new Sierra with a $20,000 discount today, what does that do to the value of a 1-year-old Sierra purchased at full price last year? It instantly depreciates it by at least that same $20,000, probably more when you account for the year of use. This accelerated depreciation is creating a wave of negative equity for recent truck buyers. Industry data shows that over 60% of truck owners who purchased within the last 3 years now owe more on their loans than their vehicles are worth, a condition known as being underwater or upside down. The average negative equity position exceeds $12,000, meaning these owners would need to pay that amount out of pocket if they wanted to sell or trade their trucks today. For many families, this represents a financial trap. They can't afford to absorb such losses, so they're stuck with vehicles and payments they may no longer want or be able to comfortably afford. Ryan Matthews, financial advisor specializing in automotive lending, shares a particularly troubling trend. We're seeing clients with 7- and 8-year loans on trucks that are depreciating so rapidly that they won't reach positive equity until the final year of their loan term, if ever. Effectively, they're renting these vehicles at premium prices with all the downsides of ownership. This negative equity crisis is compounding as economic pressures force more owners to consider downsizing from expensive trucks to more affordable vehicles. Many find they simply can't afford to make the switch, even when it would reduce their monthly expenses, because they can't overcome the negative equity hurdle. The situation is even more precarious for electric truck owners. Traditional depreciation models assumed vehicles would lose 15 to 20% of their value in the first year. Electric trucks like the F-150 Lightning are seeing first-year depreciation rates exceeding 35% in some markets, an unprecedented rate for vehicles in this price range. Early adopters who paid premium prices or dealer markups for these trucks now face negative equity positions that may exceed $30,000, enough to buy an entire additional vehicle. But the most shocking revelation comes from within dealerships themselves. Internal communications we've obtained reveal that many dealers are now adjusting their future planning based on expectations of continued price declines across multiple truck models. One confidential dealer memo states, "We are adjusting our buyback and trade-in valuations on specific truck models to account for anticipated continued market devaluation through calendar year 2026. Current depreciation curves suggest these vehicles will reach 40 to 50% of original MSRP within 36 months, significantly faster than historical norms." This accelerated depreciation isn't just a problem for current owners, it represents a fundamental threat to the business model that has made trucks the most profitable vehicles for American manufacturers. Industry consultant Michael Chin explains, the entire truck business has been built on the assumption of strong residual values. These values support the lease programs, the long-term loans, and the premium pricing that has made trucks so profitable. If residual values collapse, the whole economic model falls apart. This is the hidden crisis behind today's discounts. Manufacturers and dealers aren't just trying to move excess inventory, they're fighting to prevent a complete collapse in valuations that could undermine the entire truck market. The consequences extend beyond financial considerations. As values decline, manufacturers have begun quietly reducing support for certain truck models. Warranty claim processing times have increased. Parts availability for specific trims has become less reliable. Software update schedules have been extended or scaled back. These subtle reductions in support further accelerate depreciation, creating a negative feedback loop that particularly impacts the models with the steepest discounts today. For potential buyers, this creates both opportunity and significant risk. The discounts available now may allow access to trucks that were previously unaffordable, but purchasing a rapidly depreciating asset with a long-term loan could create financial vulnerability for years to come. And for current owners who bought at peak prices, the outlook is even more challenging. Many face the prospect of being trapped in vehicles worth far less than what they owe, unable to sell or trade without absorbing devastating losses. This is the reality of today's truck market, not just unusual discounts, but a fundamental revaluation of what these vehicles are worth and how they should be priced. A correction that was perhaps inevitable after years of price inflation disconnected from real-world value. Remember John Matthews from Phoenix who found F-150 Lightnings discounted by $20,000? He ultimately purchased one at that steep discount. "I couldn't pass up the deal," he told us, "but I'm keeping this truck long-term. I know if I tried to sell it in a year or two, I'd take another massive hit." His strategy reflects the most prudent approach for buyers in today's volatile truck market. If you're considering one of these heavily discounted models, you should only proceed if you plan to keep the vehicle for many years, long enough to outlast the current depreciation crisis. For those who need a new truck and can't wait for market stabilization, focusing on models with historically strong value retention makes more sense than chasing the deepest discounts. Trucks like the Toyota Tundra and Tacoma typically depreciate more slowly, even in challenging markets, providing better long-term financial security despite smaller initial discounts. Another strategy is considering nearly new used trucks that have already absorbed the steepest portion of their depreciation curve. 2- and 3-year-old models often offer most of the features and capability of new trucks at substantially lower prices with more predictable future depreciation. For current owners of affected models, particularly those with significant negative equity, the options are limited but not non-existent. Refinancing to lower interest rates or extending loan terms can provide short-term payment relief, though these approaches typically increase the total cost over time. Those with the financial flexibility to make additional principal payments can accelerate their path to positive equity, potentially allowing them to exit their current vehicle sooner without taking devastating losses. The truck market will eventually stabilize. Manufacturers are already adjusting production plans for future model years, reducing output to better match actual demand. These adjustments, combined with the natural replacement cycle for aging vehicles, should gradually bring supply and demand back into balance. But this process will take time, likely years rather than months. And during this transition period, both buyers and sellers need to approach the truck market with clear eyes and realistic expectations. The days of trucks as guaranteed investments with minimal depreciation are over, at least for now. Today's market requires a more careful assessment of transportation needs, financial capabilities, and long-term ownership plans. For those who need a truck's capabilities and can afford the associated costs, today's discounts may indeed represent opportunity. But buyers should enter these transactions with full awareness of the depreciation risks and financial commitments involved. The American pickup truck isn't going anywhere. These vehicles remain essential tools for millions of workers and families across the country. But how we buy them, how we value them, and how we finance them is changing fundamentally. Understanding these changes, looking beyond the eye-catching discount tags to the economic realities beneath, is essential for anyone considering a truck purchase in 2025 and beyond. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit the like button to help others find this information. Drop your truck experiences or questions in the comments below, and if you want to stay ahead of the automotive market's next big shifts, subscribe now for weekly insights that could save you thousands on your next vehicle purchase.